You can prepare to answer my question. Now I'd like to give the floor to Oleg Shakirov. He represents different research centers and centers that provide solutions. Oleg is a very well-known security expert. He is going to talk today about application of geospatial technologies. Thank you very much, Dmitry. Thank you, colleagues. I'll briefly talk about a topic that is in high demand and about an area of application of geospatial technologies in peacemaking. Peacemaking activities are activities that are performed by the United Nations. So under the mandate of the Security Council, there are peacemaking operations, and we can also identify some regional-based organizations that are involved in peacemaking activities, such as African Council. So there are many other actors. There could be national states themselves or different groups. For example, Russian operations in Syria, in Karabakh, that are conducted without the United Nations mandate, but are also considered peacemaking operations. Before we talk about using the geospatial technologies, I would like to briefly mention the mandates. Mandates is something that gives an assignment to conduct a mission. The mandates of missions of the UN are listed here, and this list is not exhaustive. Other missions may have other mandates, but this list demonstrates a great variety of the assignments and tasks. The first task that a peacemaking mission could be the forcing to peace, using the force. If there is a different phase of the conflict, the tasks and assignments could be demilitarization and control of disarmament. Very often, it's also the monitoring of following with the requirements of the regime of ceasefire, like in Donbass, Ukraine. And UN missions have a wider spectrum of tasks and assignments related to human rights, political processes, processes related to elections, protection of refugees, peacemaking, humanitarian personnel, and humanitarian objects protection. You can continue on and on. It includes patrolling, ensuring security systems, and supporting of security systems. And all these tasks and missions need information from different sources. Traditionally, within the frameworks of peacemaking operations, such a concept as peacekeeping intelligence emerged. That's intelligence about peacemaking operations. Let's have a closer look at specific examples. In Donbass, since 2014, there is an official monitoring mission of OSCE, which uses a quite big amount and big set of different platforms for data collection. Since 2014, OSCE started to conduct special monitoring, and they started using different satellites of different depths in space. And in this image, you can see the unmanned vehicle of Austria made, which started the monitoring, one of the first. And they even hired special operators to use those unmanned vehicles who are specially trained to control such unmanned vehicles. And now you can see a lighter drone, lighter unmanned vehicle. And the mission can also obtain satellite images, but they don't have their own capabilities. And the governments can also have some different sensitive issues when they give such assignments. So they get the images on commercial basis, upon request, and it's not always in real-time mode. They don't have such capabilities as the American intelligence has. There is another sensor that's used also by a special mission, that's cameras for monitoring. You can see in the image on the left below, it's not very clear, but it is a camera that is installed on a high pole and that monitors the situation in a certain area. Acoustic sensors are also used. And the data sources can also be the devices such as mobile phones, photo cameras, video cameras, with which the user can film some objects on the ground. You can see here that there is a big amount of data that is transmitted. When we speak about usage of unmanned vehicles, as far as I remember, they were the first major data source. And with time, we could see how that work was integrated into the whole system. In OSCE, they established the so-called Enterprise Geographic Information System, EGIS, abbreviation you can see on the slide. It's a tool for data collection from different sources, including variety of sources, data platforms, reports of the staff members of OSCE. This solution helps building maps and creating analytical products, data science products. Information is exchanged not only inside the mission that works in Donbass and in other regions of Ukraine, but the OSCE headquarters are located in Vienna. In order to control certain platforms, they hire outsourcers, and they also outsourced the GIS experts services. That's a fragment of one of the short reports of a specialized monitoring mission. That's some conclusions and report on the trends of the period since July to September 2021. That's the way it looks on the map. That's examples of violation of the ceasefire and violation of the disarmament regime. You can see here the ceasefire violation example. That's almost a typical map. It doesn't give you precisely the information as to which data is used, but I can tell you that these are data from different platforms, from reports of the participants of the mission, and using different technologies. Another organization is the UN, and UN uses absolutely different sensors in a large number of its missions. In 2005, cameras started to be used in Cyprus to regulate a Cyprus conflict. It as part of the mission to regulate Cyprus conflict, which is one of UN missions. The situation there is not very tense, but since the cameras was used, and in 2013, it was first time that in peacemaking activities, unmanned vehicles started to be used. In the picture on the right, on top, you can see an unmanned vehicle that was used in Democratic Republic of Congo. And another exotic platform was used in different African companies. These are Airstat systems that were used in Syria, in Mali, in the 2015-2016. So there is a camera which is used to perform monitoring of a certain area. So there are absolutely various sources of data. They have an opportunity to also obtain satellite images, but like in the case of OSCE and other international organizations, they don't have their own opportunities. So their data are obtained on commercial basis or from stakeholders' countries. How is this information integrated? There are several systems, but we can look at one example.
This platform is called Unite Aware, which is designed to collect set of data from heterogeneous data from different missions. They're structuring into some general foundation of data, and out of this fund, they generate different products, reports, analytics, maps, and these products are available to different users. So that is how it should look ideally. And now this project is being tested. The pilot was launched in MINUSCA mission, which is done in Central African Republic. And at the illustration, you can see the concept of this platform. And we see that the source data here are provided, the data about incidents, some incidents with the geographic data and description of incident. Also, cartographic data, data from different sensors, that is video record, radio data, flights, airplanes, patrolling. So from the description that is provided here, we can see that with the implementation of this project, well, as well as everywhere, it is being developed, and that is red team, and we need to double check what went wrong. At the previous event with participation of Dmitry, I have also mentioned in Nagorno-Karabakh, also unmanned flying vehicles to control over agreement. And I would like to say that for 1 year, Russian peacemakers performed mission in Nagorno-Karabakh after large-scale conflict was finalized there, the one which took place last autumn. But for patrolling, that is performed by traditional way. They also use for unmanned flying vehicles for monitoring. These are two kinds of vehicles, at least what Ministry of Defense said. For post on the picture on the left, or vice versa. Arlan 10 on the left and for post on the picture on the right. So drones for post, as we know, they can patrol 24/7, and then the data is sent to joint center of monitoring, where defense people process this data, they double check this data, and as a result, it is used for analysis of military technical and personnel moving and the effects of the parties meeting together. And we do not know the system which is used for all this, but Ministry of Defense has published pictures where representatives of joint center arrange this kind of monitoring. And in conclusion, I would like to briefly say about some problems that exist in this sphere due to the usage of geospatial technologies. As I have already said, international organizations, regardless of the fact that they are often called so-called behind-the-curtain government, they are dependent organizations depending on the states, and quite often they have no sufficient resources and capability for operative analysis of information. Speed of reaction can be not that high, even though we are oriented at analysis in real-time mode, and also usage of that in situation awareness to provide situational awareness on air and more operative decision-making. There is a problem of sensor security and data preservation in conflict area that was seen in Donbass when some unmanned flying vehicles of OSCE were shut down. or in some other areas, similar things happen, and there are practically related complexities. They cannot be at the stage of reconciliation of mandates, what kind of platforms can be used, reconciliation with participants. And if we do not agree, there can be a risk that the equipment will be spoiled. And practical difficulties that can come due to data usage if there were some undesirable facts. And in the meantime, these organizations, well, they have less capabilities in comparison to the state for automatized data analysis. We see occurrence of this system, which I discussed in OSCE and UN context, and they help to make it more automatically, not only manually, because historically, when we had the first drones in OSCE mission, that was lots of manual work, up to the point that, if I'm not mistaken, they shared records, even at some physical gadgets, and of course, that produced information delay. I think that's it. We can talk a lot about this, and we should talk a lot about this, but generally this direction is developing. What is not surprising, as long as in the situations related to conflict, there is big demand for awareness of the stuff on the ground, as well as data usage from different platforms immediately for implementation of a mandate of these missions. Thank you, Dmitry. Thank you, Oleg. Actually, it's really very interesting data, a wonderful presentation, many facts. We already have several questions, and